Karma would be pretty difficult, I think, for this Immortals team to deal with. Then you kind of are relying on your jungler coming down. Kate and Ami also really strong 2v2 if they want to go that way, but it's going to be one of those 3 enchanters, I think, almost guaranteed. So they are locking in the Karma. Not necessarily, I think, what I identify as an Gnar champion, but I think a good answer to what they are trying to do. Generally when you're playing against Xayah, I feel like you want to kind of pull away from playing dive and play more heavily poke. Xayah really answers well when champions are actually diving in onto her. Set up that ultimate, you disengage the engage, and then they're pulling back that feathers on all those champions that were engaging, really getting so much out damage. But when it is poke, it's very difficult for her to deal with, and we are getting that Zoe, and it is going to be a blind Zoe for Bolulu, so they will have some protection bands to throw out and then potentially can counterpick here for revenge. So we'll see what the answer is going to actually be for Jensen.
Okay. Now I'm just wondering how much is Bolulu feeling himself today? Because now your team has allowed you to bring the pick on which you have been having a grand time thus far in 2023 against Dignitas, who have some opportunities to respond through their draft.
Yeah, this will be interesting. It's also a little bit curious. Generally when you see Zoe come out, traditionally it's paired with a poke AD, right? Varus was banned out, but things like Zoe Ezreal were super popular for years. Zoe Varus, Zoe, as well as someone who can kind of follow up and poke and prod as well. Rakan Xayah are pretty different. You can look at it multiple ways though. Maybe the thought process here, Zoe softens someone up, Rakan hard engages, you try to kill off that person in that way. So we'll see how they're gonna actually play it out and what they want to draft for jungle and top to try to pull their composition fully together. Because on the other side, Dignitas has the ability to kind of draft more poke, draft less commitment if they do want. And throwing down those protection bands for Bolulu, it's actually Yone and Orianna. Jensen definitely not really known for the Yone. He has played it in his career, but 0 times this split. And it's not one of those champions that you really associate with him. He's much more known, I think, for the mages. He's not really been in his career ever so much of an AD guy.
Which makes sense now with what has been done to Orianna in recent patches to take that away from Jensen, who has such comfort on the pick, and push him towards something on which he might be a bit more uncomfortable. And Dignitas still looking for those solo laners on their side, while Immortals have their response now in the draft, looking for a jungler to enable or protect the rest of their lanes.
Yeah, so Vi, one of those premier junglers for sure. It might just be like a Vi. What do they want to pair it with? Is Revenge going to go full-on carry, or are they going to actually have something to act more like of a dive buddy and bring him into the fight? Revenge has been prioritizing those carries pretty heavily, but I do think, when there's Caitlyn Karma on the other side, you want to have an additional dive buddy, for that Rakan, for that Vi, people actually be able to follow up and potentially knock down these members. Rakan is going to be, very powerful engage on some of these squishy champions. Gnar, relatively safe blind pick, but Revenge is one of the guys who could potentially go towards something, like the Aurelia or something aggressive. I'm going to be interested to see, what he actually wants to take and how much he's willing to actually pick straight up for this 1v1, or is he just going to go, Sion or Ornn or whatever and just look to try to set up the team.
Facing off against Gnar on the opposite side. And Taliyah here for Jensen, so potentially looking for ways to roam and affect the rest of the map for Dignitas against Immortals.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? I think when you're drafting in this way, when you're drafting Taliyah, you're looking to get the push mid, you're looking to be able to cover side lanes. If you have Kate Karma and you're assuming that they're going to get hard prio, in bot, and really be able to get down there, actually look to constantly shove. Taliyah can help to try to push mid, to try to lock Zoe under her turret, and then threaten dives down towards bot if they get poked down. And we do have that Immortals answer now. It is going to be Jayce, so pretty strong in the 1v1. And also is that secondary poke champ, so it pairs pretty well with the Zoe. So it's not the Zoe Ezreal, it's not the Zoe Varus or anything like that, but it is Zoe plus Jayce. And if you can land a good amount of poke here on some of these squishier members over on the dig side, then you can look to try to follow that up with the hard engage from your Vi as well as from the Rakan. I would honestly love to see Santorin go for a pretty early Warmogs. I feel like it completely shuts out these style of compositions when you have someone who can kind of just frontline and actually just soak all of that poke, be able to be that had a good like 4 or 5 games where they were actually pretty in the lead at about 15 minutes. They were ahead. So just haven't been able to close out on those. Number of those Jayce games actually that we saw from Armut, where they were able to create big individual advantages. They just weren't able to actually slam that home. And Dig has had a lot of issues with their team fighting. Spawn was obviously underperforming. Tomo is in, so they're hoping that that is going to help to bridge the gap. That if they get themselves into a good position, they can create those advantages. And Fleshy is behind Armut. This could be awkward here. I think it's the flash. Oh, nice E. Okay, well, still, you force the level up on the E at level 1, which really sucks.
Yeah.
Now he's going to actually have to pretty much completely cede that lane in the 1v1. At the very least, Fleshy was not able to...
I'll have a tea, a coffee, a water, a Gatorade, another tea. You never know, but hey, he got what he needed. Got the windscreen back on.
Oh, there he's going again.
Yep.
He's improved his technique, though. Didn't make the same mistake twice. Well played, Jensen.
I guess they don't have the choice. See, I very intentionally wear a lot of dark colors because it's pretty guaranteed to see.
Yeah, they have to wear one of their teams. Here's the replay. Let's check this out. Was it the Cub mechanics? Jensen, he's going for the drink, and he knocks off the microphone. He's unfazed. He didn't even know.
The intervention of the lower lip of the cap of his coffee really affecting his play there.
That's why you saw, we saw him drink again after that. He was coming from the side. He improved the technique, so...
Sometimes you see when you go for the risky play early, there's a bit of a tempered response from the players. So I appreciate the reserved nature with which he was a bit more careful, okay?
True. I thought it was the first time. The first time he went for it.
Yeah. We'll just give him props for all his coffee drinking and give him the confidence he needs going into this game against Immortals, because I know that's what Dignitas are looking for right now, right? To prove that since Tomo coming into the fold, that they can find some more identity for themselves, get a positive win record after the change.
Yeah, absolutely. They're looking to try to pick up another win. If they win here against Immortals, that's 2 out of their last 3. Sure, it's against some of the lower teams in the league. Well, in this case, it would be someone who's tied for last. But it would be a big momentum boost for the team. It can really affect you mentally when you do just continuously take those L's. And as expected, Armut just going to be shoved in here on top side. When you're starting E, I mean, you can't really contest the wave anyway as Gnar, but at least it doesn't have to look this bad. You can see heavily pushing it in there, though, is Revenge. And speak a little bit more about Jensen. I feel like even in the losses, he has been kind of that glimmer of hope. Oftentimes, when you are looking for ways that they can get back in the game, it's like, oh, maybe Jensen could do something. His laning has been relatively good. In the early weeks, he was finding some pretty good roams up towards top side. So I think he has been performing pretty solidly, but it just has not been translating into wins. And Dignitas as a whole have got to find ways to really improve and try to find some consistency, find a consistent play style that they want to look towards and ways to actually turn advantages into wins.
And hearing from Jensen the last time he was interviewed after their victory, it seems like they're taking a bit of that tempered approach to this latter portion of the regular season. Some of that sleepy time down mid. Jensen forced to flash away.
Kenvi didn't Q flash. He had him dead to rights. That was so close to hitting. I think Kenvi thought that he was in range 100% with the Q, and he just barely shortchanged it. If that's a Q flash, that is at 100% guaranteed Jensen. No shot he lives. So a bit of a mechanical failure here. Bolulu, great setup. He actually has the Shirelias, the speed up there, lands the sleep. The flick back is good, but look at that. Yeah, just barely not able to connect. If he Q flashes there, he is dead for sure, because there's no third proc. He didn't actually get the third proc of the denting blows. So if the Q hits, that's 1 stack. That's the auto and the E to follow it up. Guaranteed dead Jensen. Should have been first blood. Mistake from Kenvi, but still nice aggressive play and setup from Bolulu. At the very least, they did force out that flash.
Now, attention spent over on the top side, but Santorin's in the vicinity. Difficult for Kenvi to follow up on any play there, so will choose to back. But yes, I do love to see that attention paid over towards Bolulu and rewarding him for that good setup onto Jensen, even if it didn't quite result the way they wanted it to.
And you do have to also say, while I was kind of focused on Kenvi there, because I think it should have been the Q flash, Bolulu potentially could have actually flashed over the seismic shove as well to get that last little bit of damage in. Either one of them could have made a little bit of a better play to close up on that. And that's something you want to be really clean on, because these are 2 teams that are struggling. You got to make the most of your opportunities. Kenvi just going to stay up on top side. They knew Santorin was around. They knew he cleared the ward. He's just covering the push here for Armut. But if jungler doesn't show there, potentially Jayce gets dove. So I wanted to make sure they're keeping him safe. And now down on bot side, you can see Gnar and Tomo just constantly having the shove. And when you're pushed in as the Xayah, you really do struggle against these poke lanes. It's very, very difficult at times to actually keep up in both farm without taking too much damage and actually having to really give up the lane. So they've already lost 1 plate. They're already down a good little chunk of CS here. So things looking pretty good for Dignitas overall.
While Immortals will be happy to have the tools of Rakan in the later stages, right now feeling a bit of that punishment when offset against the aggressive poke of Dignitas' bot lane in Tomo and Gnar, and the wave in their favor, CS advantage for Tomo.
Yeah, and Gnar is also playing Comet, so he is playing, heavily lane focus. He's playing Comet, he's playing Scorch, he's playing Biscuits, so as well as the Ignite. So they want to keep them chunked down. Really your job in these kind of matchups when you are playing from the Caitlyn Lux side or the Caitlyn Karma side in this case is to keep them pressured and chunked down so much that they can't actually ever threaten all in, right? That they can't really look for that. And if you're able to keep them at this low health, at this low mana, having to spend those abilities to actually even just get CS, then you're really in a position where the only way they can get bailed out is with a jungle gank, because there's no shot you're going to lose that 2v2 on an all-in. And that's where you really want to have them just pinned under that turret in that kind of no-win spot.
I see some of the social hits
Armut
down here. The Gnar for Armut being a talking point, because for so long every team banded against him. They didn't want to see every single skin that he's got.
Yeah, I mean, it has been getting banned against him a lot. To actually look against, so the banned against, let's see, how much has been? Yeah, so it actually been banned against him 100% of the time. So this is actually the first time that it hasn't been banned. I'm not sure if they were all phase 1 bans or if some of them were phase 2 bans. But yeah, it had actually been banned out every single game. So it is the debut of the Armut. They do actually put some pressure on him on that level 1. So putting him behind early, they had the counter pick as well for revenge. So potentially that's why they were comfortable giving that over. You can see Bolulu has a smite. So they do have his smite to secure it because Kenvi did not actually have his available and are going to be able to grab that first dragon for themselves.
You just need one, and they had one on mid. So making sure to get that first dragon for Immortals side. And nothing really to worry about over for Dignitas. We were just talking about the Narma, and I am curious to see how he can bring this very comfortable pick to the rest of the team in the team fighting later.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really exciting, right? Because that is where this team has struggled most, right? Is actually being able to push the game forward in mid-game, be able to find ways to actually get a win condition, right? Even when they had advantages for Armut when he was actually playing Jayce, it didn't really result in any wins. So this is going to be interesting, on this kind of ultimate comfort pick, as you're talking about, can he be that X factor in a team fight? He has been put in a difficult situation, having to start E level 1, being in a counter pick. But if he can find ways to really contribute in that 5v5, that could be massive for Dignitas.
Dignitas looking at a nice glimmer for the future, because as of right now, there's no major advantages. Just that early dragon that was taken over by Immortals. You can see Kenvi starting up on the Rift Herald, has the presence of revenge alongside with this rotation from Fleshy to support this top side objective taking. Any potential intervention from Dignitas with the rest of the team at the ready. They want to step into this, getting the stun and the shove and the flash away from revenge. Attempted knock by Armut. A follow-up stun and an ace in the hole to finish off. Tomo picking up first blood.
Yeah, Immortals are the one that actually start that up, but Dignitas had first move. Look at Xayah. Xayah is actually down in bot lane, right? Looking for the push down here, so not going to be able to have that assist. Tomo comes up towards mid lane, pushes out a wave, and just gets given free first blood with the ulti. Everyone backs off it. Armut finding a really good Mega Gnar there. Santorin looking for the engage. They knew they were too late to actually get the Herald itself, but they were not too late to get the fight after, and that does put them out to a nice early lead. Of course, Kenvi can earn some of that back with some plates that they could potentially crack here with that Herald, but going to be really happy about this. The Caitlyn, who is already ahead, has now been gifted first blood. And yeah, sure, Tactical gets a little bit of a CS advantage, being able to farm down on that bot side, but he's still down 12 CS plus the first blood now, and this Caitlyn is going to be really, really heavily accelerated.
So still looking at those big threats for later on. Dignitas starting to set that Caitlyn up really nicely. Continuing back over towards lane with Gnar on the way means we'll potentially see some more of that aggressive poking. But as far as Dignitas' side, as we take a look here and the way they're able to take this first move up, it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Just nice CC chain there. Santorin locks up that ultimate there, and then Jensen, seismic shove guaranteed through. Oh my God, the shot from downtown. Everyone backing off. And actually, check that. Everyone backing off except for Jensen. He wanted that first blood. Jensen was going for it. Everyone else was backing it off. It's Doesn't really matter, it just has to go to one of the carries, but in this case, feels so nice for Tomo. They are going to drop Herald bot. They recognize they need to keep tactical in this game, can't allow him to be falling too far behind. So if you can actually zone Tomo off this wave, plus get the plate cracks there, looks like Solo played gold as well, went over to tactical. I saw the 175 pocket. I'm not sure if that was from 2 plates combined or if he did actually in fact get Solo. But either way, nice little injection of gold will bring him almost back to parity. So he is down only the 200 gold or so against Tomo, which is really not a big deal. And is going to have tactical, keeping up now with this Caitlyn.
Yeah, so I mean, Tomo getting that first blood and them wanting to inject more with the way they're pressing over on that bot side, tactical able to keep up because of that lonely time down in bot, as well as that Rift Herald being offered down in the bot direction. 11 minutes into the game and still a few minutes for some plates to be taken if any team does want to go for it. But over on Dignitas, I think it was great to see how they were able to approach that fight and stay coordinated with the champions that they've brought to the table and making sure they put that gold over in the right direction. And those micro moments are what you want to look towards for Dignitas to keep consistency through the rest of the game and their fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, their top side has a lot of ability to CC chain. Jensen flashing back though.
Trying to assist, Kenvi going in for it. Santorin with the ultimate in response. Jensen eliminated by Immortals here with the pressure.
Yeah, and that time they fully commit. They're making no mistake about it. Flash on Kenvi, flash Ignite on Bolulu, flash on Fleshy as well. Everyone hard committing to get that kill onto Jensen. Jensen flashback very early to actually create space from that buy. As Tomo back here to bot lane, they're actually looking for this kill in tactical, and he is very far up, but he's looking for the 1v2.
Ooh, tactical wants to take Tomo down, throws down the ult, tries to slide it back, but Tomo gets it. Meanwhile, over on the top side, Armut in a dangerous place, but Revenge, ooh, can't pick up.
Yeah, Revenge, no more spells available, and Armut about to go mega, so had to back it up. Knew that he could have been able to potentially turn that around. Nice attempt in the 1v2 from tactical. I wonder if he could have actually gotten the kill if he committed the flash as well. I want to see when he actually used the feather pull. Did knock down that play. Turns around here as Tomo actually steps forward. Oh, he used it very early. That's what happened. So he actually used the QE just for the poke, and he doesn't have the E here. Otherwise, I think he could have looked for a potential E flash onto the Caitlyn and maybe got that kill. Nice attempt from tactical. It is an overstay. It is unfortunately another kill going on to Tomo. So paying for his greed there a little bit. Dignitas will spot them on this dragon, but not really in position to contest, unfortunately for them. It looks like it's just going to have to be given over there to Kenvi as Immortals grab their second dragon of the game here pretty early. So a little bit of pressure now on Dignitas to be ready at this third dragon.
It means a Cloud one for the next one at that. And Immortals, that's when you're looking at the early game and the way they can try and offset maybe a bit of a kill onto tactical. Hey, we still have this warding up over on the bottom side. Let's try and get here before Santorin can make it to take the second dragon.
Yeah, we'll see if they're going to be able to do that. Immortals have been, I think, pretty good at actually capitalizing on some of these opportunities. Trying to push heavily on bot side when we're seeing Dig commit towards top, and you can see the emphasis on bot. They want to cover, these roams. Dignitas wants to be able to actually make these plays happen. That's why there's so much vision in that bot side river. But the problem is they're actually missing out on multiple wards here in this area, which is likely where Jensen would actually be looking for those Taliyah ults from. So Jensen has not been able to actually find anything really with the Taliyah ults at all. He has been the recipient of some of the pressure through mid. Kenvi coming on that first time, not able to get the kill. The second move towards mid with Fleshy as well, 3v1. They are able to finally get a kill there. And it does mean Bolulu now has the mythic done. He's ready to start looking to kind of flex some muscle. And I think first setup is going to be so big around these dragons because if you're trying to face check into Zoe, it's very, very difficult. If Zoe and Jayce are there first and you're trying to walk blindly into that poke is going to shred you. But I have to point out, Santorin actually went Warmogs first. I was saying this is what I want him to do. I didn't actually think he was going to do it, to be honest with you, because I feel like so few pros do this because they just kind of autopilot and go mythic. I actually think it's kind of Giga Brain because now you have someone who can face check that poke. You're not going to 100-0 the Warmog Sejuani with just some Jayce poke and some Zoe poke. So he can actually be that guy to step up, eat the poke, and then just regen right back to full and create that space for his carries.
And Santorin, just known to be a very intelligent mind, takes one for the team type player. To build this way makes a lot of sense with his approach. And right now, over on the top side, getting one to sleep in the pursuit here by Fleshy for the lock and the quickness, and Armut, the target of tons of effort from Immortals to finish him off before they can rotate on over, but Santorin with a responsive ultimate as well. Ace in the hole again, but don't even need it to finish it off. Jensen, this time, Jensen got to get the kill before the ultimate came in from Tomo, but Dignitas throwing one back onto the support after their top was taken means they can pressure back over in towards the river.
Yeah, it was a great sleep from Bolulu to actually set up that initial kill, and they do commit in, they do kill off Armut, but they chased very deep to do it, and as Dignitas do arrive, the punish is there, they get a kill back. They're trying to look to challenge here. Can Bolulu find anything? They proc the Eye, so now it's just gonna be a 50-50. The Eye is not gonna actually spawn again, and Santorin's team has left him. Oh, and Kenvi who gets the smite.
Gets it, trying to find a wall right now. Gnar with the tether for the root. Jensen throwing down the divide so they can make sure to finish off Kenvi before he has any escape. No flash at the ready. Santorin with a kill credit.
Yeah, nicely done to at least get the kill back. Santorin actually interrupted the Q charge there from Kenvi, and Kenvi had no flash, so couldn't get over the wall. Gonna be able to come in and get that, but still a good steal on that Herald. Bolulu came in over the wall and he procced the Eye, and since it was so late, so low on health, there wasn't going to be another eye proc there, so there wasn't any ability for Santorin to actually combo that. And then just this sleep over the wall from Bolulu, pops that Shurelya's that he had actually picked up, gets in there, not quite able to connect with the Q, but they do finish off Armut. It just has cost them a lot of spells. And then Jensen is arriving, Gnar is here, Santorin is there as well, and Fleshy trying to take this little bit of an awkward path out over the wall. They find that opportunity, they do burst them down, unable to get one back.
So even though there was a bit of overchase off of that initial sleep there from Bolulu, I still think it is worth noting how Immortals bring in this mid laner first onto this roster, first time this week, and they say, okay, we're going to give you the pick on which you are most comfortable. This is very characteristic of Bolulu to just make sleeps look so easy and really know the timing. Yeah, I can put anyone to sleep anytime like I'm a grandpa reading you your bedtime story. And it paying off in moments. Yes, there's things you can shore up, but I think noting those positives is worth highlighting.
I mean, I think he's had a really, really good game, right? He did great in lane. They're obviously, trying to enable him. You were asking, would they be playing towards him? Would they be trying to actually slot him in for a blaze? And they very clearly are trying to enable him, not only with the pick, but also with where they're putting their resources. Kenvi went mid early. They could have had that first blood if they played it a little bit more clean, but then they re-gank. They get that kill on Jensen much later. So they're trying to give him the resources to carry. He's got great farm, most on his team, has a kill, has an assist, so he's in a good spot. And the game definitely in their hands.
And right now, this is that Rift Herald that we saw the fight to the smite for, and Immortals getting the charge here on mid, but lots of damage coming down from Dignitas means they can't actually finish it up. The Dragon being up, this is what you do a lot of times with that Rift Herald, put that pressure over towards mid so that you can start up on the Dragon.
Yeah, one of the difficulties here is Armut, if you actually look at the minimap, he's coming from below, but he's got no Mega Gnar at all. He's got no Gnar bar, so he can't actually go for an early flank. Santorin takes to this poke, but hasn't had time to Warmog it up just yet. Gonna be a 50-50 potentially.
Gnar took so much damage from Bolulu there and backs off. Third Dragon now for Immortals that they have stacked up.
Yeah, the setup just wasn't good. I mean, Armut. Oh no, the lazy recall. Revenge caught him slipping, gets the free kill there onto Gnar, and now they're gonna siege mid here. That was definitely sloppy. A lazy recall there from Gnar gets punished heavily, but you're surprised when this is an ultimate comfort champ here for Armut that he didn't actually have the Mega Gnar bar prepped at all for that fight. And that's why they honestly, they can't look for it because the Dragon is getting rushed down, so there's no time for him on the Gnar to actually get his Gnar bar to poke and prod. He didn't have a wave there, he'd already Mega'd out. So they know, we just need to rush this. There's no way for them to hard engage without it, so it kind of ended up being a free Dragon, and unfortunately for Dignitas, a free kill given over afterwards as well.
Which Immortals, even though there isn't necessarily this big budging in the gold lead, they are getting the advantages in what they're looking for, having this objective control, having ways of poking out Dignitas and not allowing them to get into these fights. You see the way Bolulu is positioning around these bushes and beyond, but it's the rest of the team as well being at the ready to capitalize when the lockdown happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were the first ones there, and I've talked about that earlier. It's very difficult to be second team to a Dragon when it is against Jayce and Zoe. You are going to be poked out really, really heavily, getting the early vision, having eyes on them. Where they're going to be poking from is so important. The team has got to be really coordinated on these engages, because if you fail to engage against Xayah and Zoe and Revenge here on this Jayce, it's going to get very difficult in the later moments of that fight.
You're hoping that Tactical uses the ultimate in a defensive way at some point, because that is a nice thing when you have that tool available to you as Xayah. I can use this both defensively and aggressively, but for Dignitas, you don't want to give them the opportunity to lock down and dish out that damage with the Blade Caller as well. Seeing who they can pick off and get the resources out of. They see it can be here. They see an opportunity to try and get some blast, at least get a flash out of it. Fleshy in and out with a battle dance takes a lot of damage. But Dignitas want to usher this wave in. Revenge was over on the bot river side to respond if necessary.
I mean, that is a huge find there for Dignitas, because they get the flash off Kenvi, the ult off Kenvi, they get the flash and ult off Fleshy as well. So a good chunk there, no hesitation at all from Santorin. It doesn't need to be this Xayah. Xayah's playing cleanse. Xayah has the ultimate. Xayah has the Gale Force. You're not going to be consistent on connecting ultimates on the Sejuani to her, so you just have to take those targets that as they show themselves. Tomo in some trouble here potentially.
Has the shielding from Gnar, had the flash, but the response from Bolulu to come back on that, and another sleep. Look at the dish back damage onto Kenvi though, as Santorin comes in with the assault. Tomo kill, 2 down for Immortals.
That is huge. Tomo able to survive. You know, does have to spend both his summoners, but really playing that out well. Gnar blocking the damage following through, making sure that Vi couldn't actually get to him. Actually stop that Vault Breaker from coming through. And Dignitas winning big there, now swinging the gold in their favor. Santorin has been out on the map harassing them. When you're playing with the Warmogs, you want to take these little scuffles. You don't want 100-0 all-ins. You want to poke and prod and trade health and then constantly just be healing it back up over and over and over. And that's what Dignitas has been able to do in these last couple of minutes. Jensen now going to take top tower as well. We just saw them take down the bot turret. So the gold lead, you know, swinging from what was about 700-800 lead for Immortals to a 2K advantage now for Dignitas. And they are putting themselves in a good spot for this dragon fight. You can see the Bloodthirster now done for Tomo as well. A lot of people have even been going BT first on a number of different champions. We saw earlier today from FBI on Aphelios, but I've been seeing it on MF, I've been seeing it on Draven. People really starting to prioritize playing this BT, dealing with poke, but also the survivability. When stacking, you know, with overheal, you have the BT shield, you know, that is at this point in the game 270 shield, and then you have an additional about 260 right now it is from overheal. So you're looking at like 500 plus health that you have to break through before you even hurt this guy. And even if you hit a shock blast or you hit some Zoe poke, if he has access to a wave or access to the dragon, a couple autos, you can heal that right back up. So it's gonna make their job that much more difficult as you're kind of losing these targets that you really want to hit with the poke.
Yeah, exactly. That's just allowing Dignitas to stay on the map so much longer after these pokes. Whether they get a kill or not, coming out in that HP advantage works for them in their favor to establish the warding across this line of scrimmage, to make sure they get all of these outer turrets so that Immortals have to move in the way that you see them right now as a squad collectively, because Santorin has been finding some great angles as well to collapse upon them.
Absolutely. So Immortals are going to try to threaten the Baron take here. They're saying, if you go to Dragon, we're going to take Baron, but you know, Dignitas not buying the bait just yet. Santorin checks, he gets poked down, but he's just got to sit back, give a couple seconds for Warmogs, and he's going to be right back to full. So this is the beauty of this build, and this is why I think it's so strong. You can see the Warmogs turning on now, and they are looking for potential engage. Tactical is chunked out, but again, Santorin right back to full health. Tactical has no way to heal this back up, so he's got to go back to base, and they find a pick.
Oh, going for it to get the lock, and already so low for Tactical. Dignitas, I love the way that they are moving around Santorin's forward positioning so he can take as much of that damage as possible and allow the poke from the rest of the squad, and it's getting dicey.
Was that a cleanse that Bolulu actually had from the Zoe W? It looked like he was able to cleanse out of that ultimate from Santorin, I think. So a great pickup from him. Keeps himself safe. But again, you have early prio, you have control around the dragon. Whatever team gets there first is going to have such an advantage. You know, I talked about the strength of Zoe and Jayce, you know, playing around there, but likewise for the other team, trying to actually fight through a corridor against Caitlyn traps and the zone control that Taliyah has, the ultimate available as well from Santorin makes it really, really tough. And then they just find this early poke on a tactical. Look at the damage from the Caitlyn ult, and then Armut just hops forward, you know, procking that hyper proc there. And yes, Bolulu did have cleanse, so ult over the wall, the ulti hits, but he actually cleanses and he bounces back. So it would have been safe, I think, either way. I don't think they could have actually been able to follow up on that. He would have been pretty far back. So a nice little buffer coming through from Bolulu. Probably a bit of an ill-advised ult, to be honest, from Santorin, but don't mind the attempt, as there are not a lot of great targets for him. You know, I think mostly in this game, he's just going to be ulting by, and they're just going to be focusing frontline because it's very difficult to kind of get to tactical. He has so many tools to actually avoid it. Bolulu is oftentimes going to be playing very far back, so is Revenge. So It's going to be more about just locking down Fleshy and Kenvi, I think, and having his team burst them in it.
And I think that's why you can see the way that DIG are moving up to kind of find that first contact. Can we get in line with their front line to start dishing out that damage immediately? Here's a teleport coming in with Revenge, sandwiched between Jensen and Armut. Tomo as well. Revenge making sure to make his way over towards Tactical using that flash, but Santorin followed by Fleshy in the hole to get it onto Revenge. Now the rest of Immortals, they are worried. A stun up and more onto Tactical, who uses the Featherstorm in response to get the kill onto Santorin. Dignitas are still in. Oh! Look at that damage though. Jensen in stasis, but immediately back up and down again. Dignitas taking so much damage there from Immortals poke.
They can go Baron. I mean, yeah, poke is one thing, but that was just an execution.
Yeah.
That's a poke from a nuke coming through there from Tactical. And Dignitas just lost track of the fact that all those feathers were still there. I think the ulti was used defensively from Tactical, but he never actually popped the E. So when they just funneled forward into that corridor, he shredded them. And that could actually be the straw that breaks the camel's back here a little bit. Jensen making a huge error. Armut's going to try to get in there. He's trying to prop up that Gnar bar.
Teleport in the center. Dignitas still keeping themselves around. Baron burn down. Immortals want to find some damage onto Armut. Dignitas making their dance, but they couldn't find the opening.
Yeah, I mean, the initial play, I think, was fine. They got so much pressure down onto Tactical. Yes, Santorin did have to give his life for it. Armut's going to look, though, but this is kind of risky.
Stun onto Revenge. Gnar making sure to speed up. Lots of damage back onto Gnar. Tomo finishing off Revenge to the best of his ability, and Kenvi into the backline, gets there with the ultimate, out with the Q, and another pop from Tomo to get a kill for Dignitas.
Oh man, Immortals just made such a great play, and then they kind of just throw away their advantage. Really sloppy stuff from them there. Kenvi and Revenge both dying. Revenge at least was for 1-for-1. I'm not really sure why Kenvi was actually sticking around, because the rest of the team had all started to leave, right? You know, when we look back to that earlier play. So here is way back to the initial play with the ending seconds there from that Mega Gnar. Armut goes in, it does proc the stun. They force out the flash, but they say, we can follow. Everyone is actually here on the map. You can see them coming over. They look for this chase in here. But this is that problem. When you're actually funneling into this kind of corridor, this is where Xayah thrives. They try to push forward here, but look at that ultimate coming down. And yeah, he never used the pullback. So the feathers are sitting here this whole time. They just lost track of the fact. They assume that he pulled it through, and then they step up and they get shredded here in that middle area. Jensen way too far forward, just completely lost track of the fact that Xayah still had the feathers to pull back. They got punished so heavily. It does cost them the Baron. But at the very least, Dig did get a couple kills back afterwards. Tomo, though.
Another revive into the back. Tomo flashing away, and Kenvi also on the exit. Fleshy making sure to stay by Tactical side. They want to keep him alive, and they do have that poke for themselves to get that damage onto Gnar, to get that damage onto Santorin. Weaver's Wall for the separation of one. Sleep onto Armut. Revenge into the back, but ends up giving his life for it. Dignitas see if they can capitalize upon getting that kill. They have a wave coming across mid, and Santorin still just gonna get his HP right back up to frontline the rest.
Yeah, I mean, he's healed up multiple times, it feels like, in a row now. He's gonna have to back it up now as the mini wave is gone, but just great ulti from Jensen. Tomo sticking around to actually finish off that tower. But the ulti segments the team. Revenge was locked in. Remember, he didn't have the flash from that earlier gank that they made down towards bot. Was still actually missing that. And it's just so tough. Yeah, they can land the poke here onto Gnar. They can land some poke onto Jensen, but if Tomo gets it, he's healing it right back up. Like, look at the overheal plus the Bloodthirster shield. This is what I'm talking about with this item. It is so hard to actually get through that. Then you have Karma shields coming in on top, and it's sure, it's easy to say, yeah, you have to kill the Caitlyn, just focus her, burst her down, but very long range. You know, if you have summoners available, if you have Gale Force mobility available, 90 caliber net to actually pull back as well, it's tough to actually burst through. You know, that looks like nearly 3,000 health that they're basically having to get through with those shields as well.
Good job on delays by things like that. Weaver One saying even those that want to try and reach Tomo are going to have so much harder of a time doing it because the way Dignitas are making sure to protect this carry. 5-0 for the bot laner. And Dignitas, right? Immortals did have some good plays. They did have ways of threatening and getting the Baron, but then just that follow-up not quite shoring up. Yes, then they go in to get this great tactical play of killing multiple, but this pull back and forth right across mid, Dignitas are the ones putting that forward button.
Yeah, absolutely. They try to look for the seismic shove there on a tactical, not able to find it, not able to scare him using ults or anything like that. Does make you a little bit nervous when you see him that far up without people around, but it's been a lot of attempts from Immortals onto Tomo. They've been pretty good about forcing his summoners, but they haven't been able to kill him off in any of these situations. They're often hitting him with sleeps. Bolulu is finding good angles. They try to go for the engage, but Gnar is tanking follow-up damage. The team is piling in, actually keeping him safe, and he is missing his flash now, but has Gale Force, bought a stopwatch, and his heal is back up. So he's in a pretty good spot here. They've taken back-to-back dragons away. So Immortals are kind of losing pressure on the map here, and it feels like the walls are closing in a little bit as you do have them taking over more and more territory. And Immortals are going to have to find a way back into this river and where they can kind of wrest control away from their opponents if they want to be able to fight for soul, because it's just been all Dignitas these last couple dragon setups.
And if you are on the side of Immortals, though, and you're looking for a way to regain control, to maybe start getting wards out there, is it just getting a pick onto somebody else if you can't reach Tomo? How are you breaking into this? But it's Dignitas that are the ones setting it up. Another Weaver's Wall coming in from Jensen to get the separation. Blade coming in the opposite direction for Tactical. Dignitas now starting to get bundled together, but they feel nice and healthy. They feel very comfortable in their HP, but Fleshy from over the wall gets the multi-hit, but goes down. A knock from Armut, but it's 2 eliminated from Immortals for the one trade on Dignitas. Revenge on the retreat, separated from Kenvi, who gets stunned up and delayed, going for the blast cone hit, but you've got all kinds of terrain under you, Jensen, to be able to finish that off for Dignitas. The chase backwards after some collateral around that mid turret.
Yeah, they do get the kill there on the Tomo, but the follow-up was huge from Dignitas. That flank from Fleshy found a really good angle, but couldn't actually catch Jensen in it, and Jensen was getting so much damage out during that fight. Bolulu looking for the sleep angle, not quite able to hit it there onto Armut, but I just love how Santorin is actually positioning in these fights. Look at where the poke is coming from. This is where the poke is going to come from. This is the line that Santorin is going to play, and it's just you shall not pass, right? He's going to put himself in between. He blocks the shock blast. He's standing and making things difficult, throws down that ulti, you can see, forcing the cleanse, forcing the defensive ult out from there from Tactical, and then it's Fleshy coming in on this angle, but actually watch Jensen. Jensen here, not quite able to connect with him, just barely missed with him on the charm. Jensen kites back, is getting full damage out here, and then Armut in the backline back here actually gets a full combo down onto Tactical. Tactical gets stunned up, and remember, he had no cleanse, no ulti, because Santorin had actually forced it earlier, so it's that 1-2 punch, getting those cooldowns out early, and then Armut finding a great angle to punish. That, with the fact that Jensen was free, meant sure you killed off Tomo, but the solo laners just roasted Immortals there. And it is getting tougher and tougher, it feels like, for Immortals to really get things done with this composition, because even Armut now has 2 completed full tank items. So he's not a good poke target. Santorin is a useless poke target. Tomo is not really a good poke target either. You got to try to hit Jensen and Gnar basically, but they're not exposing themselves.
They really aren't at the work of the rest of the team, right? Santorin and Armut making sure there's never any way to expose their backline and taking all of the lock and the poke that Immortals are throwing their way. And even just the slight difference, Jensen not getting hit by that quickness, being able to do what you want him to do here on the Taliyah. And now because of it and the advantages that Dignitas have been creating, they're first to rotate over towards this Baron side, set up some vision. They know where Immortals are coming from over on mid, and some of what was working out for Immortals before, not so much now.
They do have to be careful though. I don't like that Dignitas is actually playing to Baron side with Dragon spawning, because it's their opponents who have soul point.
Santorin's the one to go and get locked into it, gets knocked up on the response, and a bit of a switcheroo as Fleshy gets knocked down to 50% HP. Tomo with all the shields at the ready. Look at the way he's able to poke down, even though Armut and Santorin have been brought low. Even that is enough HP to keep them for the time being. Tomo flash over the wall after all the action coming from Immortals on the bottom half of that fight, but they lost their jungler. It's a jungler for support. Yeah,
and Santorin's just going to go right back to full because he has the Warmog, so he heals right back to full, and they're just going to start up this Baron, but Bolulu does have a flash stolen. Could look for a play. Oh, he gets a sleep!
Sleep! go to sleep, but can't get the follow-up because Dignitas respond as much as possible. They're still on the Baron. Lots of damage onto Bolulu. Revenge, the one looking for the play onto Tomo, who goes into stasis. Jensen trying to hit with the Q, but for Bolulu over the wall, it's still Santorin to secure the Baron. All the while, does Revenge want to continue follow-up? Another sleep this time onto Santorin. A good follow-up and another slap will do it. Tactical with a kill credit. In stasis, Revenge is now tactical here with the ultimate and more blades, more feathers to be rained into Jensen, but a pop downtown to finish it off from Revenge. It's a scrappy one here after that Baron.
Yeah, and they gave over Soul to Immortals. I just don't really get why they were playing so heavily towards Baron side when it's Soul point for your opponents. You're supposed to be doing that if you're the ones ahead on Dragon. You know, if you're ahead on Dragons, your opponents hit one Dragon, you get the Baron, you're so heavily advantaged from that. You just gave over Soul a permanent buff, which also, by the way, really helped them chase you down because of that additional move speed in that long extended play. So I think Dignitas are just going for the wrong play from the get-go. They are basically forced onto this because look on the other side of the map. They know that they are giving up Soul for free, so that, well, I guess you got to go for the Baron, but it's going to be so difficult to do this against Revenge here on the Jayce and Bolulu on the Zoe. Bolulu just landing so much poke on Tomo, and then Revenge finds the angle to get in. They are able to finish this off and secure that at least, but Revenge is behind you. Tactical is coming, and look how much faster they are with this bonus move speed. Just able to chase them down. Revenge is behind them. This is really the only way they can try to go for Revenge, but look at the stasis timing. Perfectly used on the ulti there from Armut, because Armut looks for that Mega Gnar. If he actually connects with that, Jensen can seismic shove out of that. Maybe you can 100 to 0 Revenge, but he just uses the stasis on it, and I feel like Dig just kind of threw away what was really a good 15 minutes or so of play with just a really poor objective decision. They should have been playing for Dragon, not Baron. They give over a freebie with Soul, and now they've dug themselves into a hole.
And that Baron buff that does remain only does so on 2 members of Dignitas, so less they will be able to grant themselves off of that play. Santorin wants to get the lock onto Kenvi, and asleep in the process, but okay with taking that. Always going to be the one willing to tank that for the rest of the squad.
Yep, just tanking it right back up. There's the Warmogs, but you can see, yeah, Armut's in trouble, but he's gonna Mega Gnar.
Yeah, going for the play, trying to get to Slam, gets a nice stun up. Revenge, Fleshy is separated, flashes over the wall to get towards the protection of the turret, and as soon as this GA is popped, Revenge is stopped.
That is a big kill. They get the flash, they get the kill, and they get the GA off of Revenge. That is really, really rough. And Jensen, again, great wall, actually segments the rest of the team, but it's Armut finding a lot of these angles. You know, his scoreline not looking as impressive, but he has found a lot of really great ultis that have been key moments for them. Jensen, though, you are dead.
They were waiting. They knew Jensen was coming. And Immortals get the pick, but all the while, Dignitas across mid, they grab themselves an inhibitor. A bit of a rotation coming from Immortals to see if they can collapse. Fleshy does not have ultimate, does not have flash.
Yeah, Tomo, though, walking a weird way. He's got to be careful. Now they're split here.
By ultimate onto Armut, gets the slam, shuggy. Kenvi coming out of stasis in a moment's time. 2 down for Dignitas. Immortals trying to respond. The Featherstorm goes out, and even though there's a sleep on the one, they don't even have to wait for it to finish off because Immortals get the kill. They've lost 2 in the process, though. Tomo still nice and healthy. Tomo still with the work of Gnar. Revenge coming on the teleport to wrap around if needed. Ultimate not enough to finish off against Tactical, but Tomo sees Revenge coming downtown, sees the blast coming towards this wave, and backs off. Oh, man, a few kills on both sides.
Yeah, Revenge CP's back in, but it looked like his screen must have been watching Tomo and not his own character, because he just stepped on a trap, completely giving away his flank there that he actually looked for the TP for. Nice movement from Tomo, you know, almost able to find an angle to really get something back. If he had flash, potentially he could have flashed in and gotten a couple more kills, because there was a lot of low HP bars there on the side of Immortals, but you know, Jensen getting caught. Immortals do find an angle to get something back, but it is pressure in that mid lane now as they have knocked down the inhibitor. And we'll see what Immortals can get done. You know, playing through sides, playing in these extended fights, these chase downs, these kite backs, that's where you're going to get advantage from the Cloud Soul. It is not just straight up combat power. It is about your movement. It is about your ability to dodge skill shots, to be able to chase down, to be able to, you know, kite back and get the most value out of that. So they don't want these 100 to 0 fights. They want, you know, the ability to actually make outplays and get something from this. And we'll see if they're going to be able to set it up, because it is, again, Dignitas first into the river here, trying to look towards playing for this Elder, which would be a massive take for them. They have a lot of range on their team. Both teams do, really, so Elder is going to be really difficult to deal with. Uh-oh.
And that's why Fleshy getting sought out by Dignitas right now. But the reason he's over there is because Fleshy knows a lot of what has went well for Immortals is when he can find that angle to get in there with the ultimate. And looking for that, though, sometimes means that Dignitas can find you out first.
Absolutely, and try to get some vision down for the team. You know, they at least have this pink ward here. They have a ward there. TP is not available, but at least gives them some small intel around that dragon. They want to have some potentially safe ways to approach that pit. Because it is going to be tough. Armut, though, Gnar bar is in a good spot here. You want it just around that 50% mark as you're getting ready for these fights, so you can have it, you know, prepping up pretty quickly. Wants to make sure that he doesn't mega out too early, though, as that's what Immortals are looking to do. Immortals want to land poke on him, force the mega, and then back off while it is up. Fleshy is on that potential flanking maneuver here, and Dignitas just hard shoving through mid to actually force them back. Armut able to actually keep away from popping that Mega Gnar, which is really big, but it's Jensen who's potentially in some trouble. You know, Jensen's actually the one who ate a lot of pokes, so he's gonna have to base and TP back.
And make it for this fight, because it's going to be a crucial one here at 41 minutes. Immortals, they are working with that Cloud Soul. They're working towards their objective focus on this bot side, and now matched this time around by the Dignitas presence. Jensen across that mid lane. Fleshy sought out. It's Armut and Fleshy that are still both looking for those angles.
Look at Jensen. He's just shoving mid lane. He's trying to force this pressure onto those Nexus turrets. He has ulti to join. So Immortals got to force. They got to force on this dragon. Make Dignitas do something here. You can't just give them time. He can end the game.
Oh, they're getting revenge to back towards the base, and Santorin and the team getting collapsed upon by Immortals. They take down Tomo, and here in the base, though, Dignitas, they're still here. We're able to handle revenge. They've gotten one of the turrets. Oh, it's Dignitas. They know what play matters, and they know that it's the Nexus. Fleshy has arrived. Armut and Jensen still focusing down on defenses, but the entirety of the team right here are able to get them off of it. What an attempt by Dignitas.
I think that's game. I think you could potentially just walk it all the way back. The death timers are so long. Tomo and Gnar might actually respawn, but I don't think there's going to be time for them to defend, especially into Elder here with 4 members alive on Immortals. Let's see if they have time. Flashing forward, just trying to get this done. He's just going to start tanking up the turrets. They have the minions coming for this next wave. I don't know. There's definitely going to be a couple alive. Okay, so I don't think they can actually end. Looking at it now, they're for sure going to get the inhibitor. We'll see how much more they want to go for. If they can get an initial jump onto some of these players from Dignitas as they respawn, maybe they can kill them off and try to end. Looks like the call is to go for it.
How much are they willing to push forward on this with Fleshy already low, looking to get a charm up, and teleport coming in from Immortals, but Dignitas, they're here to make their stand. Kenvi eliminated Gnar and Tomo, and the rest can make, God, they took him down. The 3 down for Dignitas, 2 for Immortals. They back on out.
And Jensen is respawning. They can actually march down mid now and try to end themselves. It's both teams going back and forth for it. Do they just go to Baron? Who actually makes the less risky call? Because it is an open Nexus now for Immortals. Yes, the inhibitor respawns. You can't just fully backdoor it. I think Dignitas are potentially going to go for the Baron, but neither team has a jungler. So this is a little bit of a flip. There is potential that someone like Bolulu could steal this. He doesn't have a stolen smite, but the burst from Zoe is going to be really high, and revenge is there as well. So this is really sketch. They got to block the poke over the wall and try to burst this somehow, because they have no smite secure.
They're looking for it. Dignitas, they're still on it. Over the wall. Immortals, can they find the vision? Can they find the poke? Can they find and Bolulu finishing it off for Immortals. They get the steal, boy!
Oh my god. Armut, what are you doing? Why are you not behind the bear? Just block that. He's full health. He can just stand on that side of the Baron, and that should be theirs for free. They spent so much of their damage early on. The Baron was at about 2k. Armut just needs to try to block that. They should be able to ward over the wall, see where they are, stand in front of it, just take the poke. That is rough. This game is going off the rails very, very quickly. 2 failed Nexus presses. Both teams not able to actually finish it off. And now the stolen Baron. And this is where Armut needs to be playing right here. This gets hit to about 2k. This is where you can actually look to burst it, right? But Armut, I think, is just really scared of the potential burst from that Elder buff. You can see the Elder buff is still actually ticking on him, but no one is there. They waited so long to finish it. They let Bolulu actually burst it down to 2K, and his Q came back off cooldown because they were so slow to actually commit to it after. They were so nervous to finish. That is a critical mistake from DIG, and one that they're really going to be kicking themselves for. Because that is going to be that major objective that is the only one on the map for now, and it's going to give the Baron buff over to IMT. But let's be honest, it's all down to execution at this point. People are all hitting full items, all hitting six items and pots. So at this point, if you mess up, you can get instantly killed.
Just gonna have to see these teams clash into each other again and again. Things have been wild since that Baron take by Dignitas originally and trade for the soul.
Yeah.
It feels like we've gotten this totally swingy nature. Okay, they get Baron, but then Immortals punish it, and then we get this push and Dignitas try to end, and then Immortals come right on down mid lane. Who knows who's going to just get the better execute the next time around, especially with all the time that has passed. We got some flashes, we got all the ultimates.
Yeah, we do have to track the flashes on the carries. That's the big thing right now. You can see Jensen is just about to come up. There's a tiny sliver missing. Tactical is the one that you're kind of looking at because he has no flash for now. That poke did nothing to Tomo as the shields plus the overheal and the BT shield as well. But this is a tough ask to try to dive this through the Caitlyn traps. So they just need to try to wave clear this out. Jensen going to throw out that ulti to zone them off.
Keeping them into a fish barrel best they can. Tactical going in for the feather, storming into the backline. Kenvi takes down a lot of damage. A charm on Armut means that he is destroyed. Tactical, they take out one of the frontliners, but they want to bring their pressure elsewhere.
Yeah, Armut thought he had the kill. It looked like initially, you think, Kenvi, you went way too deep, but he is the GA, and he actually gets the healing coming down from that Radiant Virtue that's keeping him alive. He's barely able to get out of there, and Armut couldn't Mega Gnar. He was so close. It looked like he had just basically a full bar, but couldn't actually get it, and now they're pushing in here. There's such a long time on Armut. Nearly 40 seconds. Tomo!
Oh, they got the root. Tomo has to get him back and down. Dignitas cannot keep their carry protected, and even with the GA popping up now for revenge, a full collapse onto the Nexus. It's time for a Nexus to be taken down finally.
Tactical goes in there, catches Tomo out, solos out the enemy AD, and that is going to claim victory for Immortals. It was a wild one, 47 minutes long. Woo! This game was a journey with failed Nexus pushes, with Baron steals, with Elder takes. It had it all. And Immortals, thankfully for them, are going to be able to claim that win. That is a big one to remain ahead of Dignitas in the standings, to take some of the wind out of the sails here of Dignitas. And I think they're going to be really happy to get away with a dub.
Really start stringing them together and follow some momentum. Very big confidence booster when you make a change on your roster and you can come through with a dub. But that was a difficult game to predict, Azael, from the later portions.